do you feel about the same thing, but then happening towards men? Like,
in what regard?
Take you, for example. You say that you have, I think you mentioned you have an open relationship, but specifically on your end.
Only on my end, yeah.
So you take the nuclear family, which is a loyal and faithful husband.
Only women could be sluts. We are the slut makers. Girls over here try to call
Oh
me
my
a slut.
God. Let's go to YouTube. It's your boy 2Tough1, man. You rocking me, I'm rocking with y'all today. We got a crazy video. We got a feminist trying to check this educated man. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button. This video is going to be one of the ones, no cap.
Taking our society and the amount of people that it takes to run a fully functioning, well-endowed society that takes people of all kinds of creed, right?
Sure.
So when you take away that matter of choice from both men and women, why do you then believe that that will be a better society?
So you're mentioning this thing about choice, and I think that's an illusion, right? And we need to be honest here when it comes to women pursuing education and a career. What we tell them is, hey, look, go get a job, make money, enter the workforce, and then you can have a family at the end of that. And what ends up happening a lot of times is women follow this route, get an education, get money, get a job, get a good career, and then when they try to find a guy at the end of that, it becomes significantly harder.
Hi.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
A little bit. You might have to move the mic down for her, guys.
No, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's
Oh, it's all the
young.
way down. Yeah.
She's super young.
The struggles of being 5', nothing.
I wonder what college they're at right now.
Anyway, what's your name?
Myron, nice to meet you.
Byron? Okay, cool.
Myron, yeah.
What is? Sorry.
Myron.
Myron. Gotcha. Thank you.
What's your name?
Ozzy.
Okay. How are you,
Sorry.
Ozzy?
I have no clue who you are. So this
No
is
problem.
very interesting. So I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
I noticed that you keep up bringing up the nuclear family,
Yeah.
right? So you talk about valuing the nuclear family, and I'm trying to ask you why. So, like, if you
Why?
can, like,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
very
Yeah. So the
clearly
reason
just
why is
explain
because
that.
children are the future. And in order to raise children properly, you need a mom and a dad. You need that balance. And that can only really be done in a nuclear family. This is why I'm not a fan of gays adopting or lesbians adopting. I think, the child needs to have a strong father and a mother in the household for the best chance at being a productive member of society. That's why the nuclear family is so important, because our future is built on that, which are the children.
Okay. And then going to the patriarchy.
The patriarchy, okay?
Yeah.
What about it?
So you're talking about how, like, you value it and you find it good that men are then forced to go out and do these things. So you're talking about kind of like the men's rights issues, right?
Yes, I think men, there's a burden of performance on us. And I think that that's something to embrace and rise to versus trying to be equal to women.
Okay, so you believe that men should not have a choice?
As far as in what regard? Working?
Not just working, but just style of life and, like, so taking away that choice from men and just generally from people of, like, their direction in life.
I think every guy should be prioritizing, whether they're building themselves up to eventually have a family, right? I understand that, for men, it takes time for us to acquire our value versus women kind of have the value up front. But I do think that every guy should be striving to become successful so that eventually a family will be dependent upon him.
Okay. I get where you're coming from.
That's respect. That's respectable.
Yeah, I don't think women should be working. I think they should be prioritizing motherhood, not jobs.
So taking our society and the amount of people that it takes to run a fully functioning, well-endowed society that takes people of all kinds of creed, right?
Sure.
So when you take away that matter of choice from both men and women and everyone in between, why do you then believe that that will be a better society?
Well, the thing is this, right? So you're mentioning this thing about choice, and I think that's an illusion, right? And we need to be honest here when it comes to women pursuing education and a career. What we tell them is, hey, look, go get a job, make money, enter the workforce, and then you can have a family at the end of that. And what ends up happening a lot of times is women follow this route, get an education, get money, get a job, get a good career, and then when they try to find a guy at the end of that, it becomes significantly harder. Because what's ended up happening is the woman has risen up in status, risen up in her income, and her standards are higher, so a lot of guys aren't going to qualify. And I think if we were honest with women and told them, look, if you pursue a career, there's a very good chance that you might not get your first choice. I think that's a good starting point. Obviously, we can't just like say, take all the jobs and that's it. But I think we need to start being more honest with women and letting them understand that you got to pick one. You can't really have it all. And this is something that we've been lying to women about for decades, that they can have it all. And then they end up at 31 years old, unmarried, no kids, wondering why guys don't take them seriously. But it's because they didn't know the truth about this stuff.
So then how do you feel about the same thing, but then happening towards men? Like,
In what regard?
Take you, for example. You say that you have, I think you mentioned you have an open relationship, but specifically on your end.
Only on my end, yeah.
So you take the nuclear family, which is a loyal and faithful husband.
Only women could be sluts. We are the slut makers. Girls over here try to call
Oh
me
my
a slut.
God. Oh my
Hey,
God.
we're the slut makers, man.
Oh my God. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Shit. See, who didn't let Myron in? Who didn't let Myron on the college campus? Myron be going crazy. But on some of these points, I do kind of agree to disagree. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to pursuing an education, pursuing a degree, and elevating yourself and raising yourself to a higher status, especially in a woman's eyes, it can be very hard for them to actually pull a spouse or to pull a mate because one thing is once a woman increases her status, increases her income, increases her everything, her knowledge, of course she's going to be picky. Of course she's going to pick the people at the top because she feels like that's what she deserves. But at the same time, us as men, we don't necessarily care about accolades. We don't care about if you went to Harvard and you graduated with a 4.0. We don't care if you're a nuclear scientist, okay? We just don't care. And I ain't gonna cap it. Some dudes that may care, but as a whole, we don't really. I'm not out here like, in order for me to mess with this girl, she has to be a nuclear scientist. Like, no, I'm not saying that. Like, I date a chick who works at the library. If she look good, she treat me right, and she speaks well. You know what I'm saying? So, to agree, to disagree, but I understand where you're coming from. You feel me? No cap.
There's no such thing as a man that's a slut.
May I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
He know what he's doing.
So you're talking about how you have an open relationship. So you have the nuclear family.
Yep.
The stereotypical nuclear family is a loyal working husband who goes
Sure.
to the office or whatever, makes money, comes home to his wife, provides for his wife, takes care of his wife. You value highly the nuclear family, but you yourself are not taking a part of it. Why is that?
Well, I have a certain goal that I want to hit financially before I, go ahead and have a family. Some business aspirations, and I want to make sure I get that out of the way so that when it is time to be a father, I can focus 100% on that and not necessarily be as tied up with work. So and that's kind of one of the, the good things about being a man is that though we are not born with value, if we work hard enough, we can create value, and that gives us a bit more time on the time clock.
And
versus for women, they have a fairly finite amount of time to be able to build a family. So for me, I'm focused on hitting a certain financial goal first so that when I do have my children, money never becomes a problem again.
But you talk about
smart.
how women are born with an inherent value.
Yes.
I would differ that men are as well. And what
Okay.
you are doing, so the nuclear family, part of men's value comes from being loyal and being hardworking. And I feel like when you miss half of that, like what you're doing, you are then degrading, degrading, thank you, whoever said that, the nuclear family and the idea of this, because you take this very almost shallow and kind of hollow, because every person has issues and the nuclear family is by no means perfect, and you are then kind of showing the issues with it by your own actions and by your own kind of disregard for.
Well, my thing is, I think, again, I teach guys, hey, look, this is what you need to do, right? This is how you become attractive, get your life together. Now, when I arm guys with these tools, what they choose to do it is up to them. If they want to go ahead and have a family immediately, that's fine. If they want to go ahead and play the field, that's fine. But my thing is, I want men to be in a position. The problem is that a lot of guys are in a relationship where their woman controls everything. She's making the decisions, she's bossing him around. There's no leadership there. I want the guy to be in a position where he can kind of dictate the terms. And if he decides, look, I want a family and I want to have a family early, I want him to do that through choice, not through necessity. A lot of guys are monogamous or in a relationship through necessity, not because they want to be. So I just want guys to be able to have that choice. That's the big thing. And then eventually, obviously, work towards a family. But I think the other thing, too, that's important is that men have to understand how modern women work.
4 minutes in the event. Thank you. My last question here is,
Sure.
what's your goal with coming out to this college campus where you have all of these people who very obviously are heckling you and do not want you to be here? What's your goal? Because obviously you're not really going to change people's minds with some of the more hateful messages that you're portraying. Like, why are you here?
To start a revolution, to tell people the truth, something that's been missing for a very long time.
I don't know about y'all, but I can't lie. To agree to disagree, Myron's not bad. But at the same time, I think the way he presents his information can be a little bit brutal, or it can be a little bit arrogant, if you want to be real. But at the same time, I don't have a problem with him saying, hey guys, or younger men, build yourself up, figure out the path that you want to go, put in the work, put in the time, and then establish value. And then have kids. Now, I'm not saying just having kids in general is a bad thing, but excuse me, I'm a little sick. Now, I'm not saying having kids is a bad thing, because, you know, kids can literally change your life for the good or for the bad. But I don't think people understand. You have to be stable. You have to have your finances in order, and you have to have a certain type of tenacity where you say, I don't care how I'm feeling. I don't care what my mood is. I don't care. Even if me and my girl is even together, I gotta take care of this child. I gotta raise this child, and I gotta make sure my children they're ready and prepared for the world, because this world is cruel. You feel me? This world is evil. Comment down below what y'all think about the video. It's your boy Too Tough One, man. I'm out. Y'all stay tuned. No cap.